We are talking about American Horror Stories, episode 2, season 1, episode 2. You can't even see my shirt. So, spooky season has officially started, according to the spooky bitches of TikTok. And I'm talking about a spooky show. But yes, I'm wearing a Charlie Brown Christmas shirt, because that's what you get here. I'm Allie, the sarcastic dormouse. Still getting used to all my channel titles. And this is my reaction channel. And I am doing recaps of American Horror Stories after each episode. Now, the other episode, the recap was the day after, and that already felt too long to me. It's been a week and a half since I saw the second episode. So, I had a really hard week and a half since watching this episode. So I don't really know how much I forgot. But we're going to go over what I remember and what I love, because this series, for me, this series is titled What I Love About American Horror Stories, episode whatever, and this is episode 2. So obviously I'm going to remember the things I loved. It was a lot, so I think we'll be alright. Getting our length in. The first thing, which was our first scene, our opening scene, is Grace, our nurse, one of our nurses, and it's really her, it's the actress too. And that's cool, that's really cool. And then we have an unknown hot bitch in leather, not the leather suit, she's in her own leather. She turns out to be a sad soul that after death got corrupted by the house. Ruby. Her name is Ruby. And so I'm assuming it's about, I think it's 6 months between episodes. So it's been a hot fucking minute since our first episode. So we don't really know how that last scene played out with Rubber Suit Man meeting Scarlet at the bedroom door. But that's okay, because it doesn't matter. Scarlet is like one with the house already, which makes Ruby come out to play, and they make... I don't sound as excited. See, this is why I wanted to film sooner, closer to when I watched it, because my flat aspect is kicking in. But I did love this episode. I really, really did. I love Scarlet and Ruby together. I love how that whole arc plays out. I'm not totally stoked the dads had to die in the apartment, but as the blonde dad puts it, at least if they get bored, there's Mr. Contractor, and he says, and a few others that would play. And I believe that would be our other couple from season 1 of the original series. So, I mean, I think on the other episode, I had to go from the beginning to the end, but I feel on this one, I'm just so stuck on the end. I have to go from the end backwards, because all of us fans have been craving a true happy ending for American Horror Story, because in the first season for Murder House. We've all been craving a true happy ending for Murder House since day one of the series, because we had that kind of half happy ending, the half-assed happy ending, where it wasn't that happy. It was like it was a good ending though. With Ruby's narration, especially like the very, very end with her narration, I got all teary-eyed and I looked at husband and I said, I didn't know this was gonna be Ruby's story. But it basically was. The whole episode turned out to be her story. Like the first episode's Scarlett's story. The second episode is Ruby's story. And it's awesome. First of all, the whole look Scarlett has in that last scene when she waits at the edge of the gate, and it's just so something. It's so something that she really kept her word and never stepped foot on that property again. And she waits for Ruby at the gate, and Ruby runs out there on Halloween, and it's fucking beautiful. And it reminds me of the end of the third Pirates movie at World's End, when we have that shot of what's her face on the cliff with the sun looking out, because every 7 years, every 10 years, whatever the heck years, they get to meet what's his name, the other one, the new Davy Jones. I'm stuck in my American Horror Story world. That's why I can't remember any of their names right now. Anyway, back to American Horror Stories. I really do love that this is our house. This is our murder house. And we get some really... I just like this ending so much. Especially when Scarlett calls and is like, hey, now that douchebag that was your stepdad, dad, uncle, inappropriate male adult figure, that guy, when she's like, I'm outside that guy's house and this is gonna be both the last and the worst day of his life, that was very satisfying for the conclusion of that episode. That was nice. And then she's smiling, and in the background the teenagers are teenagering, and the dad people are making pancakes, and I'm like, and in my head, of course, because I'm me, I put like behind the camera as it's panning around, I pictured our redhead cleaning up, and like Violet I was wondering if Violet was kind of peeking in, jealous of teenage girlfriends because she never got to have that. She was the awkward teen, and wondering how that would develop. I wonder how she felt about Ruby. Probably stayed clear of her as much as possible. Yeah, that was pretty much what was going through my head during that whole last scene. I was like, what are our other ghosts doing watching this? Because they are probably never expected that. Because they've completely taken over. Like, this is like a set of, what, 8 ghosts that have near damn completely replaced the energies of almost all the other ghosts in there. Like, what are the other ghosts doing? Is Montgomery still in the basement on a loop with the Dahlia? And what's her name still making sure Thaddeus stays in check? Or did she check out after the baby didn't work out? Like, those things I'm still curious about, but I like that we get to kind of make those things up on our own. And as far as the rest of the episode, I would say, like, it was just really well done. Like, the pacing was well done. like the reaction when the contractor walks into that room and he's like, oh, what, was she blind? First of all, I was mad. As both a prop person and a construction female, I was like, those bricks look perfect. Couldn't you have said any other line than that? Like, oh, was she blind? Or at least maybe the prop person should have made it look bad instead of good. Because it looked like good brickwork to me. But whatever, dude. He was a sassy masseuser anyway. I didn't like him. I was mad he died in the house. The other contractor guy, he seemed nice. I was mad he died in the house because I assumed he probably had a family somewhere. And he didn't deserve that. But at least he's got steady rental work with the house, and Scarlett can pick up supplies. And you know what? They could like rob construction stores on Halloween and no one would know it was them. And what are they gonna do? Arrest ghosts? Huh. The hardware store got robbed on Halloween and all of this lumber showed up at Murder House. Should we call it in? I don't think we need to call that in. That's the stuff I like to play around with. What else did we have? Oh, I really liked in the last, like towards the last scene, when Ruby and Grace are going past each other on the stairs. And Grace is like, hey, thanks for not killing me lately. And Ruby's like, no problem. I don't know why that cracked me up so much. Oh, and that's what I wanted to talk about is at some point they mention the trust will take care of the mortgage payments, and that reminds me of like Hotel when the fashion designer guy dies. He's like, well, the trust will take care of it, it'll be fine. And Liz is like, sort of. But I assume that like, so what I assume happened is the trust was in all three of their names. And because Scarlett is alive, it still technically belongs to her. And so does the house. Because they did have like, they mentioned a few times they had a shit ton of money. Like they were running out of money, but they had a bunch of money. And she could be like doing hustles and hitting hitman people things for money and adding to the trust anonymously. That is kind of how those things work. So it would keep the house maintained indefinitely until the mortgage is paid off, and then the mortgage would be in her name. So even if she's nowhere to be found, the house would still be hers. It would just be empty. Like that's how we end up with a lot of empty houses in America. Is like the bank will own it or someone will own it, and then they won't ever do anything with it, and it'll just sit there. So what made me think of that is because at one point they mentioned the trust pays for the mortgages. The trust was running out, and why were they all so comfortable in that last scene? And my explanation for that for me was the trust will take care of the payments. Scarlett can add to the trust anonymously. The trust stays in her name. And yes, she's wanted for murder. She's wanted for a lot of murder. She's wanted for the murder of her two dads, the two contractors, and the 4 girls. 8 murders. Then if they pin, maybe they might even pin the Halloween ones when they go to the haunted house. They're the Halloween attraction. They murder a couple people there too. So they could, all in all, pin about 10 murders on Scarlett. But that doesn't, even in real life, like that wouldn't affect a trust. The trust would still pay for the mortgages. You could add to the trust. Even if she's out on the, this is bad advice, don't do this. This is not legal advice. But like, it would all stay in her name, even if she's wanted for murder. That's the conclusion of that legal nerd rant that I probably cut out. But yeah, it would all stay in her name, even if she's wanted for 10 murders. So I think that's why they're all so like genuinely comfortable in those last couple scenes. And that was really wholesome. And yeah, it's under like sketchy, spooky circumstances. But as fans of the show, for me, that felt really comforting and wholesome. And I liked that a lot. Was there anything else? We had our therapist ghost come back a couple times, and she did mention the new therapist lady mentioned the other therapist guy a couple more times, and like as I mentioned in my last episode, that's pretty much guaranteed to be Mr. Harmon. Yeah, man, I kind of wanted to rewatch it before I filmed this, but then also the OCD wouldn't let me, because then I would have had to rewatch all of it, and it's too soon because I didn't finish it yet, so I can't rewatch it till I finish it. Brains are hard. But I think I said most of the stuff I wanted to say. Like, me and the husband were like this, that scene when Scarlett is coming down the stairs to leave. She said, "You have to let me leave. You cannot kill me in that house." And Ruby promised, but they were both in the house together. And she went right up to her, and I was like, oh my god, this is the moment. She's legitimately testing her. Not only does she really need that goodbye, because they are each other's people, and she said it perfectly too. She needed that moment, but also like that was the fucking test. Like, they are body to body, and that would be the perfect moment for Ruby to just pull her switchblade, do what Ruby would do. And she doesn't. And Scarlett says that line. What was that line? "You're the only person in the world whose pain causes me no joy." Like, I feel that way about almost everybody on the planet, but to know like how sociopaths operate, for them to find anyone that they could feel that way about, and mutually, both of them, pure sociopaths at this point, feel that way about each other, and it's true, and they hold that up to that moment and past that moment into future years, because that last scene is, I believe, a couple years into the future. That was hecka freaking beautiful for me to, and that was just such a powerful scene. And oh right, when Scarlett's in her that's a beautiful car, where she's in her car at the kid's house, and she goes to put on the rubber suit. My dork ass, I was like, the rubber suit got to leave the house. Like, it's its own character, because it kind of is at this point, especially the way I talked about it the last time. I was just really excited that the rubber suit got to leave the house, because it's basically a character at this point. Oh, and kind of what I was talking about last time, how when the rubber suit got to leave as its own identity with Michael, the house was a lot calmer. And now that the rubber suit has left as part of Scarlett's identity, that could be why in those last couple scenes the light is so much brighter, and the way it was in Apocalypse when they went back, and like the cinematography, how it's different. It's very similar to after the rubber suit had left with Michael. I think I'm onto something here. Let me know what you think. I like it. It was just a good, it was just good. It was a good arc. I think 2 episodes was perfect. Like last time I said the 1 episode was perfect, but that's because I was expecting the typical American Horror Story, like no answer ending. But then they gave us a bunch of answers and an ending. So I think that's really cool, and if that's the vibe and the energy and the things we're going to be doing in the seasons going forward, in the episodes going forward, I think that's going to be awesome. And Paul needs to go to bed because he has work early, and I can hear his feet. I can hear your feet shuffling. I'm almost done. Or it's the dog snarfing. Either way. Alright, so that was my wrap up for American Horror Stories Season 1, Episode 2, Rubber Wool Man, Part 2. And thanks for watching. Comment below anything you thought about my theories, anything you loved about the episode. If you didn't love anything about the episode, let me know what you didn't like. I am very curious, and I would love to get some feedback. So, have a wonderful whatever. Thanks for existing. Come back next time. Bye-bye. The camera's over there, Ellie. The camera's over there.